Boom! We're live. What are we talking about today, darling?
Well, we're going to talk about one of the most common questions both of us get from people, which is, what do I do if I'm really growing, I'm really working on my personal development, I'm becoming more awakened, and my partner isn't? It's one of the most common questions we get. And this is really a personal one to me because this is not my first husband. Shocker. I was married before to an amazing man. And this was one of our issues. I felt like I was really interested in all this personal development stuff. I was getting my master's degree in spiritual psychology. I was going to all these workshops, and it just wasn't a top value for him. It just wasn't the things he was interested in. And we just really started growing apart, and I felt very alone on my journey. So this is something that maybe a lot of you can relate to, and we wanted to dive into how you deal with this.
I almost think that growing together, or both partners having a desire to grow together, almost needs to be like a non-negotiable for both partners. I mean, because if you're really valuing growth, and your partner is happy to be complacent, how can the relationship work?
Well, that's why I'm divorced. So it was my non-negotiable, and that's why I waited so long from when I got divorced to marrying Steph, because it was my top non-negotiable. The person has to be into growth, has to be willing to do his own work, has gone to therapy, knows his mommy and daddy issues, knows his stuff, because I didn't want to feel like I was dragging someone. Yeah. But for a lot of you, what's happened is you're in a relationship, and then you got on your path. Like when you came together, there was a lot more compatibility and the values were the same. But then one of you started to wake up, started to become interested in personal development, therapy, medicine journeys, whatever floats your boat. And the other person didn't come along for the ride. And that can be super challenging, because it's like, whoa, the things that drew us together are actually growing us apart right now.
You know what I found as you were speaking, I was thinking about something. What I found is in the couples that I work with, is that couples have got together.
Yeah.
There's a beginning stage, like the honeymoon period, right?
Yeah.
The limerence phase, where it's really good. You're really connected. Everything just feels amazing. And then when all of that settles, all those hormones settle down, you start to see more of your partner and more of yourself in your partner and more of yourself in the relationship. And sometimes people don't like that because all the old stuff's coming up, right? And then instead of actually meeting each other in that space, saying, hey, we're not really satisfied, we're not really connected, we're not happy in this, one person will generally attempt to seek meaning outside of the relationship. And that's where it breaks down. Now, I'm not blaming the person that wants to grow because they're seeking meaning outside the relationship, because the other person's doing the same thing, but they're not seeking for meaning, they're seeking avoidance. They're seeking like a numbing to help themselves feel better. That there, I see, instead of that, I see that. Yeah. And that's coming apart.
Yeah, because there's the kind of relationships where you're just fighting, and then there's relationships where you're just growing apart. And the growing apart ones can feel even worse, because it's just like, at least when you're fighting, you're still connecting on some level, even though it may be unhealthy. And when you're living two different lives and feel like your spiritual journey and your awakening is solo, it can feel so isolating. I remember being married, and even though I was in the physical presence of my ex, I felt very, very, very alone. And I did the thing we're going to encourage you not to do. So we're going to start answering this question about, all right, so what do you do if that's the situation? Because we painted a picture now, but now you're like, okay, well, what do I do? I know the problem. What do I do? What you don't do is what I did. So what I did is I would try to drag him to things. I would tell him his issues. I would get up on my coach soapbox and tell him what he needed to fix. I would judge, I would criticize, and I would get on my personal development high horse, because I thought, I have all this awareness.
You're doing the work.
I know all these things. I know Erickson's developmental stages. Like, I can see where, your issues are getting in the way of our marriage. And I was not taking a lot of responsibility. And so instead of being the invitation for him to awaken, for him to be on his work, I was making personal development not look good. I was making personal development look judgy, critical, arrogant, all these things. So I wasn't a good sell for him to go and do it, because he just felt so pushed and so judged. I mean, I'm imagining he felt that way. Yeah, pressure.
Pressure is the worst in relationship. the worst.
Yeah, not feeling like you're judged by your partner and not accepted it's so isolating.
It doesn't
and
feel safe.
devastating. Yeah, and
that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
when you're judging your partner, when any of you are judging your partner and you're judging yourself as well, your partner won't feel safe. Because when we're working, so in trauma therapy or trauma healing modalities, we're talking about the safety of the relationship, of how you show up in a safe way. That is the healing. When you are judging, when you are critiquing, when you are pushing your partner away and putting them in a pressure cooker and doing the same to yourself.
Even just judging in your head and not out loud, they can feel it.
Absolutely, they can feel it because it comes out in the minutiae of your actions. When you're doing that, your partner doesn't feel safe. And guess what? You don't feel safe either because they're pulling away from you. So now there's even double the disconnect.
Yes. So what do you do? And P.S., because we get so many relationship questions, we actually are teaching a relationship course June 11th through 13th. And there's two options. You can join us live and go through the weekend with us, or you can just purchase the course and go through at your own pace. Either one is totally fine. We know it's hard for couples to be able to pull out a whole weekend of time, and so you have both options. You can join live for parts of it, and then do the workshop at your own pace.
Yeah.
And we'll give you some more information on that, but if you want the URL, it's christinehassler.com/relationship retreat. And P.S., it's not just for couples, it's also for single people looking to learn about relationship, or if you're the partner that is into growth and your partner isn't, you can do the workshop solo, and we'll address this more specifically in the workshop. So one of the things to do if there's a growth distance is walk the talk. As Gandhi says, my favorite quote ever, be the change that you want to see.
Ever?
Yeah, I think that is my favorite quote
wow.
ever. Be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, it just sums it
Yeah.
up. It's so
Well,
short,
be the inspiration, right?
Well, yeah,
Inspire
exactly.
you. Call forward your partner. Be that inspiration for them.
Whatever change you want, instead of expecting it from someone else, really be it.
AKA meet your own needs, and that's something that we're going to teach as well.
Yeah. So, for example, if Steph is fortunately very into growth and we share that value, but if he wasn't, how I would invite him in is I'd share certain things that I'd learned and shift in the relationship. So, for example, if one of our patterns was I was critical or I was too much in that go mode and our polarity was off, I would show that after a workshop or after a therapy session, I was showing up differently. I was asking what his needs were. I was meeting them more. I was taking everything I was learning about myself in terms of self-love and applying it in the relationship. So if this is an issue for you, we really want to challenge you and question you. Are you being the change you want to see? Or are you full of information, using it against your partner and kind of getting on your high horse because you're awakened and you're into growth and you're saying your partner isn't? Because that's judgment, and that's really not a super awakened way to be.
I'll tell you something I love about you as well, and I know
what?
that
Just one thing?
I got plenty of things. I know I'm into growth, so I'm always curious. So for me, I'm always curious about how can I do things differently, or even as a benchmark to where I am, or can I grow in all these different areas of my life. What I really love about you, and maybe this is moving into the second part, is yes, you're being that inspiration, you're making that change yourself, and that in and of itself is an invitation, and the way that you invite me into a course. Like I can remember the course that we're doing together now. Yeah, the way that you invited me into that course, the way that you asked me, you made it about you in a healthy way, saying, hey, this would be really important to me. I would love to do this. Is it something you're interested in? She didn't demand that I do it.
Or say, we have this issue, we need to fix it, we need to do this course.
She asked me, would you be interested in this? Here's what it's about. I think it would be good for these reasons. This would make me really happy if we did it for these reasons. Let's go ahead. What are your thoughts? So there wasn't a demand. It was a request. And the curiosity piece is super important as well. I'm going to come back for a minute. I'm curious because I feel safe in the relationship. So I can be curious about the course or be curious about the invitation because I don't feel pressured. I don't feel like I'm being judged. I don't feel like I'm being criticized if I were to have second thoughts about it. I'm just really able to be open because I trust this woman and because I feel safe in her presence. And when I'm saying safe, I don't mean like I'm physically threatened by, she's so small. I'm physically threatened by, not that small is weak, by the way. But I'm talking
You should
about
see me do pull-ups.
yeah, that's right. You're getting very good. I'm talking about being emotionally safe, where you're not going to feel threatened in the relationship. And that's a big piece. So for me to maintain that curiosity, Christine knows that, hey, I need to really invite my partner, my husband, into this. Otherwise, I've got no chance of enrolling him. And really, it's going to be something that I do solo.
Yeah.
Now, on saying that, I just want to make just a side note. It is also okay to do separate courses and do separate things. We just want to be very clear on that. It's not about, we're talking about the essence of how you value growth in your relationship as a whole. We're not talking about you have to do every personal development course together or every tantric technique or every spiritual practice that you're engaging in, your partner has to. Not at all. In fact, there should be separate practices. We have separate practices,
Absolutely.
morning routines and so forth that are healthy for us, and we have together practices.
But the essence of this video and what we're encouraging you to do is, number one, stop. If you're the one growing, your partner isn't, stop being the coach, the judger, you need to heal your mommy issues, otherwise we're never going to have emotional intimacy, and you this and you that, and explaining all the childhood issues, and you know it if you do it. And I feel ya. I've been there. When you're desperate for emotional intimacy and connection with your partner, it's like sometimes we just will do anything, and we're just so desperate for it. We go to that criticizing and judging. So it's really about walking the talk, being the invitation. And we're going to teach you a lot more in the relationship workshop. This is just a taste. But the final thing we'll say as we start to wrap this up is, if you are doing all that, and if you really have been that invitation, and you're clear that your partner just is a no in this lifetime, to really wake up and really look at their stuff, and they just want to suppress and shut down and live neck up and not really go to the depths that you're willing to go, then it's a conversation of, has this relationship reached its expiration date? Like, is the healthiest thing for both of us? And that's eventually what we got to in my previous marriage, was we really were going in different directions, and our values weren't aligned, and we had reached an expiration date. And it's like, okay, the most loving thing to do for each other and for ourselves is to go our separate ways, as hard as that was.
Yeah. Something that came to me then as well was need. Like, if you need something from your partner to the point where A, it's this ongoing repetitive need, and B, it's causing you disharmony within, that's really something to look at within yourself. That desperate need. When you mentioned the word desperation, that came to me. And we want these things from our partners, but what aren't we giving ourselves within the context of the relationship? And we're demanding, we're pushing that ideology or that thing that we think we need onto our partners, which is putting a lot of, again, I'm going to come back to that word, pressure.
Nobody's turned on when they feel pressure. Nobody wants to lean in
Turned off
when they feel pressure.
Getting the fuck out.
Yeah. So there's so much juicy stuff to talk about. We hope that you join us for the relationship workshop. It's christinehassler.com/relationship retreat. But remember, even though we're teaching it live, you don't have to come live. In fact, it can even be more impactful to do it at your own pace and go through the exercises and processes. Also, if you're single, it's open to you too, because one of the things that I did when I was single, in between my ex and my love, is I took a lot of relationship courses, because I was like, I'm not going to screw this up again. Like, I don't want 2 divorces.
You want to maximize
I wanted
the
to
opportunity
learn.
that you have.
Yeah, I learned freaking calculus and Texas history in school. A year of Texas history. A full year. And then a full year of world history.
Tell me what you know about Texas.
How do those things... I don't even remember. I was a memorizer. A straight A student, but memorized, and then it was gone.
I wish I had the memory.
But we do not learn how to do relationship. We really don't. And so we are so committed. We really believe that conscious couples and epic relationships up-level. We've seen it in our own life. It just up-levels every aspect of your life and your impact. And we want to share what we've learned with as many of you as we can. So please, again, christinehassler.com/relationship retreat. Please join us.
It's interesting, we talk about rites of passages for boys, right?
Right.
And even girls too, but particularly boys. It's a big theme in today as well when we're talking about men's work. But we very seldom speak about rites of passages for relationships and people in relationships.
Maybe you have a wedding, but that's more of a party, right? Unless it's super sacred and ceremonial. And that's the easy part. That's the beginning.
The deliberate nature of how you take yourself
Yeah.
through that rite of passage within the context of relationship. That's what we're excited about.
We're so excited. So again, christinehaster.com/relationship retreat. If you missed the URL, DM us and we'll make sure to hook you up. We look forward to seeing you there and just sharing our love with you. Have a great day,
Blessings.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.